So it actually winds up being helpful to think of this continuum from novice to expert as having 4 distinct stages. And I'm going to be referring to these 4 stages throughout the nanodegree, so you know to what extent you should be mastering the material we cover. In order to talk about these stages, let's give them names. On this end, I'm going to replace I don't even know where to begin with a title, and that word is ignorance. Now, ignorance sounds harsh, but it isn't meant that way. Ignorance about something just means you don't yet know it exists, and this is how every journey towards expertise begins, and that's why we're calling it stage 0. On the other end, let's replace why was this ever hard with the word fluency. Because when you're really fluent in something, you've truly mastered it. In between these 2 extremes, there are 2 important stages. First comes awareness, and that is followed by ability. To better explain what these stages mean, I'm going to share a personal example with you. As I do, try to connect the stages I went through to the example you just came up with for yourself. And the example I want to share is how I learned to drive a stick shift car. Because when I was a little kid, I actually didn't know that different cars could be driven in different ways. I had no idea what stick shift was. I was ignorant of its existence. And then, one day, I asked my dad why he kept moving the shifter around when he drove. And he explained to me manual transmissions, and pretty quickly, I at least had an awareness that stick shift was a thing. And even though that seems small, this was an essential stage in my journey towards becoming an expert. The transition to this next stage began on my 16th birthday. I had gotten my driver's license and I really wanted to drive, so I needed to learn how to drive stick. My dad gave me some lessons, and within just 1 or 2 of these lessons, I could actually drive stick. It was really hard, but I was still driving. I had to be very focused on what I was doing with the clutch and the brake and the shifter and the gas, but I could make the car go. It was a big achievement. And now, I've gotten to fluency. When I drive, I forget what I'm even doing. I don't even think about driving stick. It just comes natural. And that's fine, but let's talk about the most empowering part of these stages. To get from ignorance to awareness, it took me a matter of minutes. All my dad had to do was explain to me that this thing existed. Then, to get from awareness to ability, only took me a matter of days. And even though I was far from being an expert, after those 2 days of instruction and practice, I was driving a car. It felt very cool. Now, getting from ability to fluency, that required years of practice. And I was constantly getting closer to fluency over that time, but it wasn't until a couple years of practice that I was actually at the stage where I wasn't thinking at all about what I was doing. So think back to your example of expertise that you have. How did you make these transitions? How long did each take? If you'd like, feel free to share your story on the discussion forum. In the next video, I'm going to explain why these stages are so relevant to the educational journey to learn to code that you are on right now.